Hi everyone. Welcome to the Turkish series Stars channel. All the details are in our video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share this video before we dive in. Thank you so much for being here. Tonight, we're bringing you a story that shook a set, sent hearts racing online, and reminded everyone how delicate a day at work can be, even for the most seasoned names in the industry. It all unfolded around Hazal Subaşı, one of the most beloved faces of Turkish television, and the man who refused to leave her side, Urkin Meriç. It began like any other ambitious shooting day. The crew had planned a fast-paced sequence, the kind of scene that demands perfect timing and razor-sharp focus. Hazal stepped in strong and fearless, as she always does, executing the choreography she had practiced. But in a heartbeat, it went wrong. As she turned to hit her mark, her foot grazed a prop left slightly off the line. The slightest snag was enough to pull her off balance. Those who were there say it was a gasp, a flurry, a sudden hush, and then chaos. Cameras froze, the set fell into a stunned quiet, and all eyes darted to Hazal. Standing a few steps away was Urkin Meriç, already moving before most could process what they were seeing. He reached out, trying to steady her, but the momentum carried her forward and she went down on her side. A murmur rippled through the crew. Someone called for a medic. Someone else reached for water. But Urkin, steady and focused, crouched to speak to her in a calm, quiet voice that only those closest could hear. He checked her shoulder, her elbow, her pulse. When she winced and tried to brush it off with that brave little half-smile fans know so well, he shook his head and said, very clearly, that she wasn't going anywhere except the hospital. Witnesses swear they heard him say, "I have to be with her," and that was that. Without waiting for a driver or the studio car, Urkin insisted on taking Hazal himself. The production quickly cleared a path. He helped her up gently, holding her as if every step mattered, and escorted her to his car. There was urgency, yes, but there was also a strange, anchoring calm in the way he moved. That calm proved contagious. The panic eased just a little because Urkin looked like a man who knew what needed to be done. And in moments like these, that's what people cling to. At the hospital, the pair moved through fluorescent corridors with clinical efficiency. Tests were ordered, scans were done, and the waiting began. Doctors examined the points of impact, checked for fractures, and asked careful questions about dizziness, pain, and movement. The first wave of news that filtered back to the set was guarded but hopeful, no serious injuries detected. A minor contusion, a strain, and that exhausting cocktail of shock and adrenaline. Hazal was advised to rest, to listen to her body, and to step back for a few days. Relief spread through the crew like a tide. Those who were with them say Urkin barely let go of her hand. Whenever a nurse came in, he stepped aside and then returned to the chair at her bedside. When her phone buzzed non-stop, he set it to silent and told her she could deal with the messages tomorrow. In the corridor, he took a deep breath, pressed his thumb and forefinger to his eyes, and then went back and smiling, the picture of quiet strength. He thanked the nurses. He thanked the technician. He thanked everyone who made the path from fear to reassurance a little shorter. Back on set, the story traveled fast. By the time the trucks were parked and the lights were dimmed, the news had already slipped into the online world. Fans who adore Hazal and admire Urkin flooded social media with messages of love and support. Hashtags soared within minutes, hashtag #GetWellHazal and hashtag Urkin Meriç lit up timelines, threaded with photos, edits, and old clips of their scenes together. Messages poured in from colleagues, stylists, and fellow actors. People praised Urkin's decisiveness, his tenderness, his refusal to wait on protocol when someone he cared about needed immediate help. Others applauded the production for reacting quickly and putting health first. As more details emerged, the picture became clearer. The fall had not been dramatic in distance, but the way her foot caught on that stray piece of set dressing made it all the more dangerous. It was exactly the kind of small oversight that reminds everyone how easily something can go wrong. The producers, already shaken, convened a meeting that same evening, mapping out changes for the next shooting block. More eyes on the floor. A second sweep before takes. A red flag system for fast resets. If action is being shot, there will be a dedicated safety lead checking every prop and path. Some said these measures should have been standard already. Others admitted that tight schedules can blur boundaries. No more, came the response. Not after this. And what about Hazal? Those close to her say she was her usual mixture of grit and grace. Tired, sore, but humor intact, she reportedly told a friend, "I'll be more careful, but I can't wait to get back." The devotion to craft is part of what fans love about her. She doesn't have to do things. Even so, the doctors made it clear, rest comes first. Let the inflammation subside. Keep the arm supported. Follow the plan. Urkin echoed the advice, promising to keep watch and make sure she didn't rush it. The plan, everyone agreed, was simple and smart. As the hours turned into late night, the hospital visit wound down. Paparazzi speculated outside, but they didn't get much. A wave, a thank you, and a car pulling away quietly. Back online, the narrative sharpened. Panic on set, quick thinking from Urkin, a cautious green light from doctors, and a production determined to learn. It was the kind of story that attracts the public eye not because of scandal, but because it reveals character. There's a reason these two have such a devoted following. Urkin, known for his calm under pressure and a protective streak he doesn't try to hide. Hazal, a force of spirit and sensitivity who often turns vulnerability into strength. Together, they form a picture that people can't stop watching, a partnership that blends professionalism with something warmer, something very human. This moment only made that clearer. By morning, the crew was already implementing changes. The art department walked the set with fresh eyes. Wardrobe adjusted shoes and knee pads for the action beat. The first assistant director added new safety briefings to the call sheet. The producers asked for independent checks of the floor plan. No one wanted to leave anything to chance. The director postponed the sequence that had tripped her up, rewriting to reduce risk and adding time for rehearsals. The mood was serious, yes, but also united. Adversity can do that, it can split a team or strengthen it. Here, it brought them closer. Media coverage followed as expected. Headlines emphasized the scare, then pivoted to relief. Clips rolled from older interviews where Hazal talked about pushing herself, and where Urkin spoke about looking out for the people he works with. Commentators noted how swiftly the production responded and how openly the team communicated. As the hours passed, one theme rose above the noise: safety matters, and so does the way you show up for someone when it matters most. For fans, the emotional center was simple. They wanted to know she was okay, that the pain would pass, that she'd be back when she was ready, and that the people around her were doing right by her. And they were. Even those who had only joined this fandom recently could see it. The solidarity was tangible, almost physical. Photos of flowers, short reels stitched with music and hopeful captions, comments in all caps shouting love at a screen. #GetWellHazal didn't just trend, it stayed. Meanwhile, whispers from the set painted a softer picture of the hospital night. The two of them replaying the moment again and again, figuring out what snagged and how to avoid it. Urkin joking about bringing a broom to sweep every inch of the floor before the next take. Hazal laughing for the first time since the fall. A sigh of relief so deep it sounded like sleep. Those who know them say this is how they handle the difficult stuff, head-on, with warmth and humor, then with discipline. As the second day dawned, clarity arrived. The medical team provided a more definitive update: no fractures, no ligament tears, only a minor soft tissue injury and bruising. Rest for a few days, ice, elevation, light movement is tolerated. She could walk, she could talk, she could smile, and she did, sending a short message to reassure everyone that she was okay and grateful. Without dramatics, she let people in just enough. I'm fine, she said. Thank you for your love. See you soon. Urkin added his own quiet note, praising the crew and the hospital staff, and reminding everyone that caution is not fear, it's respect. That line traveled far. It framed the conversation not as a spectacle, but as a lesson. Within hours, the production company released its formal plan: inspections before every shoot day, mandatory safety checks for action beats, more med staff on call, and a culture shift away from rushing. They wanted to make sure that what had happened would not happen again. Even with reassurance, the tabloids kept circling a particular angle: the devotion on display. The image of Urkin leading Hazal out of the studio, shielding her from the crowd, keeping a hand at the small of her back, captured more than a brief moment. It captured years of trust built on and off set. The story stopped being only about a fall. It became about the way they stepped up for each other. And that, perhaps, is why it dominated conversation far beyond the day's filming plan. On the third day, the set buzzed with a tempered excitement. She wasn't scheduled to return yet, but her chair stood waiting with a blanket draped over it. The team whispered about new markers on the floor, foam pads tucked beneath rugs, a camera track realigned to widen her path. The energy was careful but optimistic. They would pick up the scene later, slower, safer. The quality of the project wouldn't suffer. In many ways, it might even improve, shaped by a renewed attention to detail. Reports from those closest to the couple suggested that she was already reading lines at home, working softly through the movements in her head, conserving energy for the comeback. He, for his part, handled calls and kept an eye on the schedule, filtering pressure before it reached her. This is what support looks like when the spotlight is off, the everyday choices that soften the edges of a hard week. By the week's end, momentum and tenderness had found a balance. The fans kept posting. The hashtag #UrkinMeriç continued trending beside hashtag #GetWellHazal, with followers praising the way he reacted, the way he stayed, and the way he never centered himself in the story. The crew kept revising routines and checking lists. The producers offered reassurance with action, not just words. And Hazal, resilient as ever, prepared to step back into the work she loves, not recklessly, but with care. If you listen closely, you can hear how the tone has shifted. This isn't just a scare that will fade, it's a narrative that reinforces who these two have always seemed to be. Professional. Loyal. Strong. The set will move forward with caution. The fans will keep the lights on with their attention. And somewhere in the middle, two people will carry on, a little wiser and just as dedicated. As for the next steps, the plan is clear. The medical guidance will be followed to the letter, rest will not be rushed, and when the time is right, the camera will roll again. The crew believes in her energy and his steadfast presence. And as we speak, there's confidence that the project will emerge not bruised, but sharpened by what it learned. What began with a moment of fear has turned into a testament to care. So yes, the incident will be talked about for a while. On sets, on feeds, in group chats where people share concern and relief in equal measure. But it will live on most powerfully in the small changes that protect the next scene and the next. In that sense, what happened has already done what stories do best: it has connected people, taught a lesson, and revealed character. Hazal Subaşı is on the mend. UrkinMeriç is right there, as he promised. The crew is vigilant, the fans are warm, and the work, carefully, thoughtfully, will continue. And when she steps onto that set again, there will be a hush, a breath held, and then the kind of quiet joy that comes when the person you've been rooting for takes her place where she belongs. Until then, the message is simple and true: get well soon, take the time you need, and come back when the path is clear. This brings us to the end of our video. If you enjoyed our story and want more exclusive updates, make sure you're subscribed to Turkish Series Stars and share this video with others who care. We'll be here with the latest whenever the next chapter begins. Goodbye for now.